Hey, what's going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Fantastic Nature Adventures. I'm your host, Nat Urmson, and today I'm in this beautiful sort of flooded meadow area in Acadia National Park. I'm up in Maine now, of course, for school. I'm actually kind of all alone out here today because most of my friends who go to school with me haven't come up here yet. There's still a couple more days before classes start, and I'm kind of one of the first people up here. But I'm going to be out here today looking in this meadow for some really cool herps and insects and stuff like that. There's a lot of really cool creatures that I could encounter out here today, so let's hope I find some cool stuff. Finally, we find something cool. So I've been looking for a lot of herps basically, but any good insect, I mean, I can't pass that off. And I just found a praying mantis. Look at that. That's a praying mantis. Okay, hopefully the camera is getting some decent footage. Okay, so this is a praying mantis. There's 3 species of praying mantises in the United States that I'm aware of. I'm not a praying mantis expert, obviously, but there's 2 that are not. Oh my God! There's 2 that are not native: the Chinese and the European praying mantis, which are introduced. I don't necessarily know if they're necessarily invasive. I think they're mostly just introduced. The difference between introduced and invasive is introduced species are actually just basically they're introduced to a non-native like area, like a country or something, but they don't have a negative impact on the environment, whereas an invasive species is a species from a different place as well, but it's having a very negative impact on the other species in its new range. So basically there's 3 species of praying mantis. There's the American, which is a native species. I don't know if the European or the Chinese are up this far north, but the European and the Chinese are introduced from obviously Europe and China respectively, and they're in a lot of parts of the United States. I'm not exactly sure where, but they, like I said, are introduced, so they're not having a necessarily super negative impact on the environment. I think they're just here. This praying mantis is a voracious predator. If you see these 2 legs on the very front of their body, they use those to literally grab their prey and basically like slice it in half. These 2 legs are called raptorial legs, and they basically use those to basically just like grab prey, and basically they're actually quite sharp, and if you're a small insect, you'd probably get sliced open by them, and then the praying mantis would have its meal. Praying mantises are also famous for eating the females a lot of times, kind of similar to spiders. After courtship, the females will actually eat the male, so they'll do the exact same thing. They'll sort of grab the male with those 2 frontal raptorial legs, and they'll have a meal. This is, like I said, this is the first praying mantis I've ever seen in Maine, or at least first live one, I think. And sometimes they have a very, very exciting defense mechanism where they open up their wings and they kind of like arch their raptorial legs, the frontal legs, and they kind of have this like eye on their wings that like warns predators, because a lot of insects will have like a false eye. Moths have this too, and that kind of like makes predators think that it's actually another predator. So if you're like a bird that's trying to eat a moth and you see this big circular thing that looks like the eye of your predator, then you're not gonna want to go after your prey. I'm not exactly sure what species of praying mantis have that. Like I said, I don't know a ton about praying mantises. I mean, I know some, but I don't know like a crazy amount. I apologize once again for not knowing a ton about a lot of the animals I find in terms of like behavior and stuff. I know a lot about like range and taxonomy, but in terms of like behavior and more stuff like that, I'm not as good with. But yeah, this is a really beautiful species. Like I said, smaller individual, so probably will get a little bit bigger. I have no clue how to sex this individual whatsoever, but it is absolutely gorgeous. Okay, so when I was in the field and I first found this mantis, I wasn't exactly sure what species it was, but after doing some research, I was able to determine that it was a European mantis, and this is because European mantises have sort of a little like white spot on the inside of their front leg at the top, which you can see a couple times in the footage, and so yeah, that's kind of a telltale sign of a European mantis. So the European mantis was introduced to Pennsylvania in the late 1800s to be a predator of the introduced gypsy moth caterpillar, and since then it's pretty much just spread all over the United States. The European mantis can come in all different color variations, usually some kind of either shade of green or brown, but some of them are even like yellow in coloration, and all of the different colorations are actually directly correlated to camouflage. So if a praying mantis is in kind of more green, lush vegetation, then it will be like more bright green, whereas if it's in sort of a more brown location, it'll be a more dark brown or just light brown. Basically, different populations have different colors depending on where they, the kind of habitat they live in. It's not like European mantises can change their color. It's kind of just like if they are not the right color, they're gonna get predated on because their camouflage won't really be working too well. So this one was kind of a bright, sort of a light green, and so that's because there was a lot of sort of like young grass and sort of little bit of shrubbery in this location. It was kind of a nice, nice beautiful meadow in the park. So that's probably why it was like a sort of a light green, because that is probably the more successful color variation that is found around here in Acadia. However, there also have been some studies that have shown that during temperature changes, European praying mantises can actually change their color during a molt. So for instance, if this particular praying mantis, if there was like an extreme drought in the summer and it got really hot, and this praying mantis was going to try to survive, it would actually molt into a darker, kind of a more brown praying mantis, because all the vegetation around it would become more brown in coloration, so it would also molt into that color form. Another interesting thing about mantises is that they create a kind of egg mass called an ootheca, which contains around 100 to 200 eggs in it, which is pretty cool because these are like basically packed full of eggs. And I've seen these all around where I live in Maine. I'm sure people that are watching at home have probably seen these before too, and they might not even know what they are. I put a picture up of what they are. They're really cool, and they're laid sort of in like the autumn, like late fall, October, November time, and then the larvae hatch out next spring. And praying mantises, or all mantids actually, have incomplete metamorphosis. So, for instance, like baby praying mantises, they kind of just look like adults, but a lot smaller, and they don't have wings, and they just basically keep molting until they get larger and larger until they become like full-grown praying mantis adults, basically. But they don't have like a complete metamorphosis like a butterfly or a beetle would, where they have like a total, a larva that has, really small legs, and then it it molts into a winged adult. It doesn't have that kind of thing. So praying mantises are also famous for having very large compound eyes, and those are the eyes that are sort of quintessential among insects, and praying mantises have them because they need vision more than any other sense when they're hunting. So, when they're looking for prey that's flying in the air and they're trying to grab it with their raptorial forelegs, they use those big compound eyes to gauge distance and all that kind of stuff. So they have very complex, very large eyes. So one last thing I want to talk about with the eyes is when they're kind of swaying like with the breeze on grass and stuff like that, or when they're kind of just like moving their head or their body back and forth, they're actually doing that to gauge depth perception in their environment. They're really trying to get a very precise visual sense of their environment, because vision is by far a praying mantis's most important sense. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this really cool little praying mantis video. I know, I don't know a ton about praying mantises, but I learned a lot from this video. Hopefully you guys learned some stuff too. It's getting a lot colder now in Maine. It's a lot like rainier. The temperatures have just basically straight up dropped. So I don't really know how many more animals I'm gonna find that will be video worthy. My friend and I have been looking for eastern milk snake since I've been up here. Still have not found one. It's the only herp I have not found on this island yet, which is crazy. But yeah, I'm going to try to keep looking for other animals. Hopefully we can get a couple more warm days before it starts getting really cold. But if not, maybe look out for some videos in the winter if I go to like Florida or some other warmer place for the winter, who knows. And yeah, I'll keep you guys posted. But for now, hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. If you haven't seen all my other videos, you can go back and watch some of the ones that I made even when I was like 15. They're really cringy. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy. Hopefully see you guys soon as well. And peace out. Have a great day. Bye.